Whoop. You there, bro?
I'm here. Got you.
Yeah. That didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But
What was you gonna bring up? Play Illuminati?
nah. Did it play?
I didn't hear. I didn't hear nothing.
Ah, shit. It didn't even play right. It's all good. It's cool. We ready. It don't matter. Let's talk about this epic, inspirational film that we watched this evening. The Alchemy Hour is back. You sharing it?
Yep, I shared it already on my page.
I mean, let's just
We'll
go.
tag. We'll
Whoever
tag some people.
inspirational. Uh-oh. Whoever here is here, bro.
Okay.
Whoever meant to be here gonna be here.
Right.
So let's go, man. You the host. You the host with the
Okay.
most, my guy.
All right, we live. Okay, we live. Listen, man, I just want to say this. This is the return of the Alchemy Hour, and we haven't done this in a couple of years. So we definitely want to bring some information to you. We want to break something, some things down to you, and we want to give you the truth because that's what we about. I'm here with my main man, the real young bread, the real young bread. Get that name in your heads, man. Get that name in your heads. You can follow us real quick on Facebook. Also, what's the YouTube channel they can get us on?
The Real Young Bread, just like it's on the screen.
Just like it's on the screen, so you can follow us on there. If you see something you want to chat about something, you got some comments, put them in the comments. We'll definitely look at them and address them. But let's start off, man. There was an epic movie that came out this past Friday, and it was called Sinners. And Sinners is very interesting movie to watch, and we wanted to break that down for you. To tell you our thoughts on him, give you a perspective that you definitely haven't seen before. So I've been watching a lot of people do reviews on this movie, and I've been watching a lot of people do their takes on the movie. But even the director in them, there were still key points in there that we're going to tackle, and we're going to definitely get into on this and stuff like that. So let's start off, man. This movie is about really the jazz and blues and the origins of a place called Clarkstown, Mississippi. And if you Google Clarkstown, Mississippi, is basically the home of the blues and whatnot. So we want to definitely tackle that and get into it. So the connotations of the music piece, tackle that real quick, the real young bro.
What you mean? The connotations of the music piece.
Just the aspect of the movie with the music in there. What's your take on the fact that the blues genre, Clarksville, Mississippi, and at the beginning, when they talked about the blues, her introduction about the griots and the chiefs and stuff like that. What's your take on
that? Well, I mean, that question is kind of all over the place. So first, we need to really dial it back a little bit. And first, let's start with, because the blues in Clarkstown, Mississippi is important to comprehend, but it's also, I think, imperative for us to comprehend that, one, the people that invented the blues are also the same people that invented jazz. And these were the same indigenous peoples, right? of that region. So the trick is that when we start to do the history and we start to do the research, there have been names altered. There have been certain things changed, so we won't realize that these is the same people.
Right.
Right. So when we get into jazz, jazz was invented in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when what was interesting to me is in the movie when they was going through the hip hop and my brother Neighborhood, shout out to my brother Neighborhood, he mentioned it when we had our class that they showed Lil Boosie.
Right.
And that's important for people to understand what was really being conveyed when they showed that one scene when Sammy, the main character, was singing. Right. They took us through our DNA or our bloodline, or should I say he? Because I mean, you got to salute the cat Ryan Coogler. The movies that he's been making, man, it's been outstanding. You know,
Right.
and I think this one is better than even Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
From a culture,
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
from a cultural perspective, and then a application perspective as far as what it means to how we are living right now. I think it's important for us to comprehend how significant the music we listen to is. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so with that being said, you know, he went through the music and went all the way up to hip hop. Right? And he was
Right.
showing the indigenous people of the Americas. He was showing indigenous people in Africa, and he was showing
Right.
how this was the same DNA experience. And we all have this DNA experience with music.
Right.
So, who is your favorite hip hop artist?
Who is my favorite hip hop artist? I mean, I have several, but I would say Nas.
Okay, just
Just the
stop
name,
right
just
there.
the name. Yeah.
Stop right there. The first time I heard Nas, right? It was
Right.
a chick that I was dating when I had first gotten in the military, right? It was a
Yeah.
chick from DC that I was dating. I would say her name, but I ain't gonna say her name, right? But she had the CD, and I was like, "Who is that?" And she looked at me like, "Yo, this Nas." I had never heard of the cat though. You
Right.
feel
Right.
me? But when she popped in the CD, right? I'll never forget the first time I heard Esco go off. And the first record she played was Life's a Bitch.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. Classic.
You know what I'm saying? So I remember what I had on that day and everything. You feel me? So
Mm-hmm.
I could say the same thing about the first time I heard Pop, the first time I heard J. Cole, the first time I heard Andre 3000, the first time I heard Jay-Z, the first time I heard Scarface, Beanie Siegel, because this is how important music is to our experience as humans. It
Right.
literally is the soundtrack to our life. You dig? So
Right.
for them, for him to have shown, right, the experience that the people was having in this nightclub, you know, while he was singing, to me, I think it was the most perfect artistic display that I've ever seen as it pertains to music. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
and and even let me even say this to take it a step further. Um, I I've been having people tell me that I should talk more about my experiences in the music industry, what I saw with my own two eyes, and what I was privy to, and a lot of the stuff now that is coming out about Jaguar, what Jaguar writers exposed, like a lot of this stuff, people who've been knowing me long enough that done asked me specific questions and I done gave them specific answers, they'll tell you that, hey, bro, Ben knew that shit that she's saying, like all the shit that she's saying, bro, Ben knew most of this shit, you know.
right,
And a
right,
lot of the people I don't know them personally, but it's a circle that's real small when you talk about the industry. And it ain't like once you in them circles, it ain't no problem to talk to anybody or meet anybody or deal with anybody in them circles. You know,
right,
the only thing it usually all boils down to is how much money you got. You
correct,
know what I'm saying? But um with now this movie coming out is further inspired me to say, okay, maybe I should be talking about, you know, some of the stuff I know about the music and everything else. But and let me even take it a step further.
yeah, we need to,
Let me say this too. A lot of times I haven't said
okay,
certain things because I don't want to ruin opportunities for some of my homies that's still in the industry, right? And still had the opportunity to make money with some of these people. You
right,
dig what
right,
I'm saying? But like literally, like, you know, some of these cats that's being exposed now, like I done been in the same room with these dudes, and I'm like, hey man, y'all boys be good. I'm out of here. You know what I'm
right, right.
saying? When
Yeah,
certain
and so yeah,
popping,
and so let me just give them a little reference. I mean, for the reference, the real young bud was a hip hop artist, has been in the rooms with a lot of these artists, had made music, been in recording sessions with them. So he's just not talking just to be talking about it. And I think in the future, or even could be next week, we definitely should get into that and tackle that. But I mean, you have a different vibe on it as well, too, with the frequency of the music and how the music changed, just like what you said when he was singing. And even there's a scene in the movie when he was in the car with Stax. Remember, they had split up, was in the car with Stax, and he was singing, and Stax looked at him like, wow, like he's
yeah,
never heard anything like that before.
right.
So that goes to your point about certain music. I just want to say this too. I'm not a really southern type rap, but when I did hear Outkast, like I heard like Outkast spoke to me with
Man,
with, with hip hop.
I catch them up north just be haters, bro. Like y'all just need to go ahead and admit it, bro. It's okay, man. It
No, I listen.
like but I love the movie because he really showing that the essence of our music is some southern shit.
Right, right.
It ain't no like,
You,
okay,
yeah,
watch
you're
this,
right.
watch this. When you talk about hip hop, you can't talk about hip hop without mentioning James Brown. Correct?
That's true. You're right about that.
Most of the big records in the beginning of hip hop was James Brown samples.
Yeah.
Am I lying or flying?
No, and they still sampling them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done, everybody wants to label it a certain type of way to take away the credit from what it really is when we talk about the music. But if we gonna be honest about it, even when we talk about like we talked about the other day, when you talk about the West Coast,
Mhm.
because to me the first super producer in hip hop is Dr. Dre.
Right.
And personally, you know how I feel about, like, to me, from a cultural in conscious perspective, that's when we lost hip hop, when it went to the gangster rap, because it took the essence of it away and made it corporate. We stopped wearing the African medallions and we stopped wearing the HBCU hoodies and stuff like that, and we started wearing the LA Raiders and the LA Kings because we was trying to look like Easy. We was trying to look like Ice Cube. We was trying to look like MC Ren, you know. So when we talk about them cats that's from the West Coast, all you got, if I ask my big homie brother, hey big homie, where your family from? Louisiana. Where's the family's from? Mississippi, Louisiana. Like the people out west was two generations removed from being from down south. You know what I'm saying? They literally, they granddaddy moved from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi to Cali.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? So when we look at it though, guys from up north will say whatever, and I'll admit, to me, Brooklyn got the best rappers. The best MCs done came out of Brooklyn to me. Right? But that's just lyrics. When we talk about what make the energy move and the frequency and everything else, it's some down south shit. 50 Cent killed the game because he came in the game on some down south shit. Think about it. Many men with some down south shit. Go shawty. It's your birthday. That's some down south shit. I don't hate New York or none of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But we just need to be honest about what it is.
No, I mean, you make valid points about that, because if you look at like those great migrations and people leaving the South, and if you don't, we ain't even gonna get into the Trail of Tears because we're gonna do a show on that. But if you get into all of that, I mean, even my family, I'm from North. I was born here, but my family is from Georgia.
Right.
And I remember my mother grew up right around in Georgia, grew up right around the corner from BB King and all of them. And she used to have pictures of those guys, and that was their thing. Like if you hear the word juke joint, like when that first was mentioned in the movie, I thought about my mom's, because they, even to her later age, she would always say, "Well, you going to the juke joint," and that was instilled in them because that was their thing. I mean, work hard all week in the fields, work hard doing whatever you doing, a convenience store. Store, locals, whatever, and then you get the juke joints on Friday and Saturday. So that whole theme of the movie was like, it was like I heard my mother speaking to me on that stuff, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, somebody said something, right? Most people, yeah. but
that's true. He said
did Dr. York start educating
rappers up north? Definitely the rappers up north. So a lot of the first major hip hop artists was a product of the teachings of Dr. York, or either the 5%ers. You know.
Right. Yeah. And Dr. York is mainly responsible for that whole new neo soul scene, correct?
Correct.
With the R&B and neo soul, yeah. All right, so characters. Let's get into some of these characters in this film. Let's start out with the twins. So you had Smoke and Stacks. By the way, shout out to Ruth Carter, the design. She's Springfield's own finest. Ruth Carter did the design, all the design work for the movie. She did a fabulous job. Stacks and Smokes. Twins. What were their purposes?
Well, okay. So let me share the screen real quick.
Yeah. And let me also add in there while you're doing that. So Stacks has red hat, Smoke has blue hat.
Right. All right. That's what
Is there any significance to?
That's what I was about to show you.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Let me know when you can see the screen.
I can see it.
Okay. So you see what it says? Neptune is the blue planet.
Right. Neptune is the blue planet. Yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
a lot of times what we gotta remember and what we gotta think about is that most of our spirituality and ancient wisdom truthfully comes from the cosmos. Okay. When we look at the deities and ancient Kemet, for instance, because the reason why I always go to Kemet because I think it's the most complete system that we still got evidence of, right? And with the system in Kemet, a lot of times what happens is people don't understand that this was anthropomorphic. Anthropomorphic. It's a tongue twister, but what that means is it's basically the basis of where metaphors come from. So you use one thing to symbolize something else, right? So with me watching, they were two planets. One was Neptune, the other one being Mars.
Okay.
All right. So of course you know Mars is the red planet. Or maroon planet. Okay. And this is the basis of what the comment that I tagged you in last week. It just so happened that we didn't get to do what we was gonna do last week, and then this movie came out and we watched this movie.
Right.
It took us away from that. But just briefly, Mars is Moors.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why the Moorish flag, and I don't be caring about people's feelings because they believe whatever they want to believe and they get caught up in all this bullshit praising these folk or whatever. But I call it the Horus Science Temple, and anybody that want to smoke with me, you can come get the smoke. Let that be known.
Well, it is what it is because all of it is getting exposed anyway. So you say it is getting exposed anyway. So they can say whatever.
Don't nobody want to smoke. Don't nobody want to smoke. I promise you that. But when you look at this flag, Mars and Venus, that's what you're looking at. And you looking at the basis of the zodiac or the beginning of the zodiac, right? And within the Moorish Science Temple, a cat named C.M. Bay started something called the Zodiac Constitution. See, Moorish Dictionary, Zodiac Constitution by C.M. Bay. Right? So, just to let people know I ain't making it up, and no, I ain't trying to just bash the Moors or none of that type of stuff. But the problem is with a lot of this stuff with the conscious community, y'all just YouTube scholars, and y'all just take what somebody say, y'all take it at face value, and y'all don't do no deeper research into the deeper meanings of all of this stuff.
That's correct.
For me, I don't believe nothing. I got to be standing on solid ground. So I guarantee you, if anybody want to come with the smoke, boy, you'll get decapitated, because I'll show these folk how y'all prophet was a plant, and how he was being funded by them folks. Don't nobody want the smoke, I promise you.
Right. And they don't even know, and you know, it's funny you saying it, they don't even know that, but the research, I mean, I know you've done diligent research on all that. As a matter of fact, get the Real Young Brothers books, Supreme Science and Alchemy.
Red
Pill Alchemy.
We ain't
get those books too.
Nah, but look, we ain't got to do that, because eventually ain't nobody gonna have no choice. I'm just being honest. Ain't nobody.
Right, well, I'm just trying to get them a head start. Get the books.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll promote them. Get the books. So
yeah. So
definitely. So now, is there also a reference to the sun and the moon too with the brothers?
Of course. So, and this is something else to understand, is that when you get into true esoteric wisdom, the affirmation is ambiguous. So you have to be well read and well studied to see how different esoteric information gets put in and different divine information. So, for instance, at the end, he became Osaru or Osiris.
Right.
And his Aset was waiting on the other side, right? Nurturing Heru.
Right.
You see, and she was in the all white, you know, but you are correct. Part of the red and blue symbolism is the sun and the moon. That's why in politics, they display the red states as Ray Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Another name for the sun is Ray.
Right.
Right. And then they call the blue states Democrats. Demi.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Compared to the sun, the moon's light is dim, right?
Right.
And then anything that isn't the sun would be demi, because it would be a demigod in ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
The sun is God in ancient times, correct?
Right.
So,
correct.
So the sun was the source of light and life on the planet. So the sun became synonymous with good, and the moon became synonymous with evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's why what did the white man who sold them, right, the property?
Yes.
And we're gonna go into what all of that meant, but
right.
What was he from?
He was from the KKK.
Right. So what is the KKK though?
The Ku Klux Klan, but
what do they call themselves though?
What do they what?
What do they call themselves though?
Knights of Golden Circle.
Huh?
Is that the Knights of the Golden Circle?
Well, this is a secret society. That's one of them. But the Knights of the Golden Circle, the circle would be the sun, the golden circle. But watch this. You also have what? The Knights Templar.
Knights Templar. Yep, Knights Templar.
Right? So now the Knights of the Golden Circle and the Knights Templar are Christian secret societies, right?
Right. Okay. With some Masonic base in it too, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Like we can't leave that out.
Huh?
I said I can't leave that out. The Masonic base in that.
Yeah, but then you have the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan,
Okay.
the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Mm.
And what is KKK? K is the 11th letter of the English alphabet.
Right.
11, 11, 11 is 33.
Mm-hmm.
33 is also the number of amen.
Mm.
Right? So this is telling you, in essence, if people understand, not only is the Klan a Christian organization, but the true God of their three monotheistic religions is the moon.
Mm.
Monotheism is monotheism.
Right.
That's why they changed everything so that the week would start on the moon day.
Mm.
For the love of moon, money
Mooney. Yeah.
is the root of all,
Oh, correct.
because the moon is sin. So when Knights of Columbus, that's correct, sir. That's another one.
Right.
What is the Knights of Columbus? Another Christian secret society
Secret Society. Right. Mm.
that's inside the Vatican.
Mm.
Catholic fraternal organization. Can't make this shit up. Can't make it up.
Yeah.
Can't make it up, dog. You know. Salute to my guy Neighborhood Real. Salute to my sister Pamela. Salute to my guy Loran. So y'all know I stopped doing live streams because I get tired of all these busters out here that'll take bits and pieces of what they see on my presentations or what they done read in my books, and they go out and they make all this content, but they don't give credit to the source. You know. But they be making me really want to put some of them in a blender for real. But if people want to be honest, I was the weirdo and I was a conspiracy theorist when I was dropping all the information about gematria and social engineering and psyops and all that type of stuff 10, 15 years ago. Now everybody want to talk about it.
Right.
I was the one who put all that information about the people who control the news that rhyme with the blues in Supreme Science and Red Pill Alchemy. Now, everybody on Twitter, everybody on Instagram, and everybody on TikTok talking about them.
Mm.
Huh?
Right.
Come on, man. So, you know, I be trying to be humble, and I be trying to like stay righteous and do this for the right reasons and everything. But some of these dudes, man, they be really making me want to sock them out. For real. But
Right.
let me say this. This why all of them people that they plant in the conscious community, they do like this, and then they
crash real quick.
They get to a point where they can't teach no more, and they can't build no more, because everything about them has been a script.
Mm-hmm.
So I give y'all a perfect example: the Buster Kevin Wesley, the one that went all viral because he paid for his stepdaughter wedding, supposedly, or something like that, and he wouldn't let him have it at the house because her real daddy wanted to walk her down the aisle and all this type of stuff. If y'all notice, when that dude first came out, he was teaching everything that was in, the basis of his teachings was what a large part of what I covered in Supreme Science about the Bible and the Zodiac ages and the Bible and everything else. He got to a point and he just stopped teaching in his videos, and then he started doing reaction videos. And the next thing you know, he caught in all this controversy because he was the fun boy They got exposed for being with Dwight Howard.
Mm.
A lot of this stuff that people see on social media, these people be fun boys and they be informants already. Straight.
Right.
And they be trying to get real guys from the streets and people who got real solidified backgrounds in a trick bag. And you see now it's RICO indictments and everything else that's been coming out about, you know, for people who've been doing these interviews and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't want to do too much talking out here, but why is it that I'll just say this and I'll leave it at that. Why is it that my pages, my accounts get deleted? Like, I done been banned from TikTok. I done had 2 YouTube channels deleted, right? If I start posting certain information on Facebook, I can't go live no more. They'll let me start going back live for 30 days, and then they'll suspend me from being able to go live again. I had one post that was going viral on one of my pages. They shut the page, they removed the post, took all the privileges from the page, and took the monetization off the page. So how is it that it's other people that could talk about similar information and talk about a lot of stuff that they talk about, but all my shit gets shut down?
Well, they can't control you. That's one. The rest of these people were plants they will put there. That's two. And they go on with the narrative. That's what it is. I remember when we did the Ad Kids, and I'm gonna get back to the movie, the Ad Kids stuff. All those videos and podcasts we did, they went and snatched them up. There's other people. There's thousands of people doing videos on the land of child murders. Nobody's getting taken down. None of this. But they wasn't talking and having the people on that we were having on. They wasn't talking the real stuff. They wasn't getting to who's involvement in there. They were just talking.
Right.
And to be honest with you, most of those podcasts, they always attributed to Wayne with 2 of the murders. Nobody never said he was. I listened to a bunch of them. They all, well, he didn't kill all those kids, but he did 2 of them. So that's a narrative that they keep going.
Right.
We never implicated anybody or one specific person in those. And I think that's what it is. And you know, once again, kudos to you and the team for that. Is when you get hot and you start leaking information that they don't want to be leaked, that's when they shut you down.
Yeah. But but it ain't just that, because I'm explaining to you. See, it go back to these bloodlines, and people got to understand these bloodlines, and people better understand what that last name Hendrix really means.
Right.
You know, like, we from them bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my lineage, my background is Wali Ichi, Amity, right? Which is the same bloodlines that go back to where we talking about the Mississippi Delta, Louisiana. These the same people. These the same Olmec bloodlines, bro. Right. And it's important for people to notice and understand that when we talk about the indigenous wisdom and the indigenous history, how imperative it is for people to realize is that these was the same people that were these was the same people that migrated into West Africa, into what we call America today. Okay. And another thing that's important for us to understand is that them folk timeline that they be trying to give us is all off, because they don't want us to realize that we walked to this side of the planet. You hear me? Before the continents divided. I'm gonna show you how you know that. Now watch this. See, people get caught up in what be in these videos, and they don't never do the math and the science.
Right.
Break it all down. First off, with the narrative that they try to put out against Africa versus the quote unquote Indians or the indigenous people of the Americas, that gotta stop. Because they was the same people, folks. They was the same people. And true, a lot of the people that ended up in the transatlantic slave trade or ended up on plantations during the time that the transatlantic slave trade took place, they weren't brought here, they were already here. That's true.
Correct.
That's true. See, and a little bit of truth could go a long way to telling real big lies. Right? It's some stuff that I'm holding on to because I'm just waiting for the right time to put a lot of these folk in the blender. They're saying that America is older than Africa and all the stuff that they say, right? But I don't even want to go down that road. I want to go down this road to make people understand that it got to be a lie what they telling us about the timelines, right? As far as the continental divide in our human history. It was civilization and what we would call Atlantis. That's why we got a city in Georgia called Atlanta.
Right.
And we know this. Now watch this. Uh-oh. Fat finger. Oh, yeah. Can't spell tonight. Oh.
Now, is that the underwater city or something? That was an underwater city, correct?
They trying to say it's not now.
And
okay. Again, this is how they scrubbing the internet. Can you see this video?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about you, and I really don't know about you. That's a good thing, huh? But I sometimes like to have some lighthearted fun when it comes to mysteries and conspiracy theory stories. The only thing that's even more fun is checking the facts and trying to that BIM.
Well, let's talk about the difference between story and how you tell the story.
It's
Road was the only visible part of a more.
Okay, this is a cartoon. I should have. That's my fault because I actually got the video.
Okay, no, that's
another. I got the video on another laptop though.
Yeah, we can definitely show it another time when we get it.
Video, folk, where they found a crystal pyramid beneath the Bermuda Triangle. Okay. See, they don't want people to know that because now that's going to dispel the myths that there wasn't civilization before the continents divided. Do that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. They don't want you digging. They don't want you if you start digging back and getting into that stuff, then they found out who the real indigenous people are. They don't want you knowing that.
Right. So see, and this is how, let me show you this. This is how I know some of this, bro. This my hometown, man. See, when people get to talking that Pangea shit, I be like, okay, what's the BMA? Like, nigga gonna try to school me about Pangea. I'm like, Holmes, I put that in my book that came out in 2016. My book came out in 2016, so I was aware of it the 6 years prior when I was writing the book, because it took me about 6 years to come up with something. And listen, my guy, I'm gonna need you to settle on the spot.
Nah, man, I'm trying to, next time I'll do it in the chair, but I had the issue with my foot, man. So I'm in the bed, and I apologize, everybody. I'll be in the
You're an injured soldier. I got you.
You know me. Words are powerful, right? I'm coming in here with good faith, man, tonight. So it won't be like this. I'll be professional on y'all later. I'm my bad, y'all.
Right. So you see what this says, though? The Brunswick magnetic anomaly is a geological figure, specifically a negative magnetic lineation extending from Alabama to North Carolina's Outer Bank. It's a debated topic among geologists with two main theories about its origin. One theory suggests it's marked split between North America and Africa when Pangea broke up. While another posits it's an older collision zone between two plates. So, of course, they got to try to throw the theories in, but when we look, all we got to do is look at the map.
Right.
And see can you don't see this one, huh? Okay.
I can see that, but your scroll bar in the middle is blocking. Are you trying to show one of these?
Nah, I'm finna
okay.
I'm finna show a different, because they opened it up in a different screen. So we just gonna show it right here. So you see how they try to manipulate the map to make this seem like it's a long way from each other.
Right.
And so much so that what they do is they make people fly and leave here, right, to go to Europe to come back here. You got to go all the way out your way to come back here instead of just flying straight across.
Right.
So,
well, they figured a way to monetize that, right? It's all about money.
Well, it's not just about money. See, it's about keeping the illusion.
Right.
When you remember when I used to make all my posts, I know Loran remember this. I used to make all my posts and I would say at the end, all they do is lie.
Right.
When you have a foundation of a system that's built and based on lies, you have to keep lying. The only difference between what's happening now, since we went into the age of Aquarius in 2020, is that now more people are waking up. We are no longer in the age of I believe. We in the age of I know.
Right.
So people got to provide the factual information. If people can't provide the factual information, we're going to be looking at them sideways. So it's a part of our collective psyche now, because now the cosmos is saying you can't believe no more. You got to know.
Right.
That's the cosmic mantra. You can't get outside of that. You understand?
Right.
So everything that they put forth now is going to be easy for us to see through it. But when we go into this, let me see if I could I'll pull this up real quick. Uh-oh, somebody sleep. Let me see. So when we okay, here we go. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
What you see on the screen?
Let me move it closer. It's talking. Answer the simple ones.
Okay.
Okay, you changed it.
Cool. Look, answer. How did Atlantis end up lost underwater empire? It's simple. Once the continental divide took place, everything on those divide lines broke off and fell underwater. This is why it's so important to understand that there is red clay in the United States, just as there is in Africa, because these lands were once connected. Atlantis connected North and South America to Africa and Europe. So millions of years ago, you could walk from Georgia to Africa. This is why archaeologists have recently discovered a piece of Africa underneath the state of Alabama. Continental breakups are proven to be just as destructive as some human separations. Geologists say they have found a fragment of Africa embedded in the southeastern U.S. Where I said them bloodlines come from?
From the south.
The southeastern U.S. Let's make sure we say southeastern.
Right.
Because that's what was connected to Africa. So when I talk about the BMA, the Brunswick Magnetic Anomaly homes, that's my hometown.
Right.
I got two homeboys that drowned in the waters out there because people don't know it's a magnetic anomaly right there in the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
Right? Just like the Bermuda Triangle is a magnetic anomaly, right? There's also this magnetic anomaly right off the coast of southeastern Georgia. Okay. A remnant of the rift that occurred between the two continents some 250 million years ago. 250 million years ago.
Not 250, 250 million. Okay.
Right. Scientists have known for sure for some time, of the presence of a strange band of magnetic rock that stretched from Alabama through Georgia and offshore to North Carolina coast. I'll stop there. Now, I'm going to show you. See, this is what we got to start to understand. This is what we got to start to understand, right? They're going to give you bits and pieces of the truth, and it's up to you to connect the dots.
That's correct. Correct.
I am a dot connector, my guy. And I don't accept what nobody say at face value. I gotta know. I gotta do the research.
Yeah. And it's true what you're saying. I mean, I sometimes I'm sitting in these spaces, and whether it be local and national, and everybody is pushing post-traumatic slave syndrome and all of this stuff that I'm not ever since I got into a little bit of supreme science and all of that, I'm not a big component of all of that. Because you're pushing a narrative that, we were brought here and this and all of that, and not really telling the whole truth about how we got here and that we were already here. So you have our own people in compliance pushing that stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they didn't connect the dots or they didn't do the research. They just listened to what somebody else said.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So this how we gonna prove though. I mean, and neighborhood, you're gonna have to give me a StreamYard tutorial another time because my boy neighborhood said put it on the solo screen. I don't know what none of that mean, bro. So
Okay.
I gotta he gonna have to help me out. But I'm gonna show something real quick that lets you know that this ain't a theory. Now watch this. This how I think. This how I process. You see this map?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it that where did they say from? Alabama, right? Which is right here to North Carolina. Right?
Right.
Okay. The only thing that's missing is these three states right here: Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Because when where the magnetic anomaly is, it's right out here. Right? Okay.
Right.
When the continent of Africa broke off, or what we call Africa today, so this was all connected. When it broke off, piece of that land came all the way around here, and that's where they discovered this 250 million year old piece of Africa underneath the tectonic place of Alabama. But remnants of that landmass crashed here, here, and here. You know how we know that? If I could get somebody on here that's from Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia, they'll even South Carolina and North Carolina, they'll tell you that all of these states got parts of the land that's beneath sea level.
You know, it's funny. I didn't hear about. I always hear about Florida and New Orleans, but I never heard about South Carolina and under the sea level. So that's very interesting. So even off the coastline where you pointed to,
you got places,
that would kind of make sense.
You got places in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia that as soon as it started raining, man, everything flooded, bro.
Correct. Now, I mean, I didn't understand that understand it until now that you saying it, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but see, this is what I'm saying. People see what people don't be understanding, bro. And I get be the person that's the conspiracy theorist and everything else. I don't think linear. I don't think like this. I think like this.
Right.
True wisdom is full circle. Our thought process should be cyclical. We should think in the cycles. We shouldn't think linear. That's how they always get us.
Right.
Think about what I said. They gave us a timeline. The line is the masculine way of thinking, and the 9 is the feminine way of thinking. Right? Which is the left side brain versus the right side brain. But all of the spiritual information is on the right side. It's not on the left side. That's why our ancestral teachings always started in the principle of math. Balance. So, oh look, my brother said the 7572. That's Virginia.
Right.
That makes sense because really, all of this, you know what I'm saying, along this whole seaboard was connected.
Right. Well, even if you look at the African cities that you said that broke off, what was it to say that if you look all up the East Coast too, off the ocean, that was in part those parts didn't break off too?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole Eastern
Yeah.
Seaboard was connected to Africa. But what I'm saying is that
Right.
it had to be truth to the theory of what they saying, because it would have to be something catastrophic that damage all of these geographic places to where they all are beneath sea level.
Right.
Which means they're sinking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which
Right.
if anybody knows about, let's go find this. And then we'll go, we got to go back into the movie because we ain't said enough about the movie.
Why you pulling that out? Is that a result of these states like Florida will be underwater one day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, see, this is the I Am America map. This is from a Native American prophecy that this is how the Americas are gonna look. You see California gone.
Right. So can you blow that up so the screen so we can see it larger?
That's the biggest it'll get.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me do this. Yeah, that's the biggest it's gonna get, bro.
So they're saying California on here, California would be gone.
Yeah, let me see something. Hold on. Because neighborhood.
Okay.
Let me see something. Oh no, that ain't gonna do it. Neighborhood was saying put it on the solo screen. I don't know how to do that, but click the box in the screen you have up in the left corner. Okay, hold on. So we're gonna try that again. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, neighborhood.
All right, big shout out to neighborhood.
My dog gave me that tutorial in it good, real quick while we on the live. But
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? That's the I Am America map right there.
Right.
I actually got the map. I bought this map years ago, right?
Right.
But you see, almost the whole Mississippi Delta gonna be gone, bro. You know, almost the whole Delta gonna be gone. A large part of the West Coast gonna be gone because all of this stuff is falling. Sinking. If you understand the San Andreas fault line, I mean, California been sinking for a long time. That's why they have so many earthquakes.
Right.
I've been telling all my folks for a minute, hey man, y'all better get up out of Cali. I stopped talking about it though. You know. Yeah, but you know, all of this stuff is important to understand because when we start talking about who these people were, right? These was them bloodlines that walked here. So when we talk about the other indigenous migration, you talking about the migration of people that went in through the Bering Strait and came down through Alaska, what's called Alaska today. Because many people don't understand how close Asia and Russia are to Alaska.
Right.
I showed y'all that this past weekend. It's only like 90 miles. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And again, that's what they do with the map so that people don't understand that part. When you get to Alaska, you 90 miles from Asia. Consequently, another name for the Olmecs was the rubber people.
Right.
When you understand that the rubber plant was indigenous to Asia, these was the people who brought the rubber plant through the Bering Strait into the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but see, you can't just go by what goofy ass 19 keys and the rest of these lame ass niggas is out here saying the shit that they saying, because these ain't real researchers. These ain't real scholars. They ain't gods for real.
Right.
And they plans that's been pushed in front of you to keep certain narratives going.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I let everybody know I can fight real good. What's that? I called you a buster.
All right, so we talked about the twins a little bit. Let's get into some more of the characters.
Gemini. Ain't you a Gemini?
Yeah, Gemini. Twins.
Whenever you see twins in movies, you got to think about Gemini. And then when you think that, then you got to go back and see how they basically showed you their duality. So you could look at them as Gemini, but you could also look at them as yin and yang as well.
Right.
Because one of them was pushing the line. He told them folk, hey man, y'all have to go somewhere else. And the other one was like, man, we need them to come in here and get this money.
Right.
So.
And it's interesting that you said that too, because their characters, although they were twins, their characters were different. One was tempted by the light, all that. The other one was, standoffish. They played off, for him to pull that role off was phenomenal anyway, to pull those two roles off, because I know that was very hard to do that and stuff. Even when he warned them about, who was it, Mary, right? Was it Mary? Mary, and let's get into her. Break down Mary. I got my own take on it. I'm gonna say a little after, but break down Mary, because she has a key role in a lot of this as well.
Yes, she opened the door.
She what? I didn't hear you.
Open the door.
Right. So, what do you have? Any other thoughts on Mary? She, her character. She knew them. I guess her mother raised the twins at some point, and she was intimate with. I think it was it Smoke? No, she was intimate with Stacks, and Smoke kept warning her about Stacks kept warning Smoke about her. And like you said, when she opened the door, that was the reason why. I hope people seen it, because I don't want to be a spoiler alert on it, but we're just talking about the characters. He was against her even coming in the club. Remember at the time?
He didn't want her in there.
He didn't want her in there. Right. And, they felt that, she persuaded herself in the way. To me, sort of like what white folks do all the time, persuade your way in there, conniving, convincing, even to the point where she thought she could manipulate them, Remick and his two people, that she gonna get money out of them. She gonna do it her way, and it ended up backfiring and stuff.
Right. So that is allegorical of the Eve allegory, wandering off in the garden.
Okay.
Right. So if you know the true essence of the story of Adam and Eve and what it's really all about, it's about the sun and the moon as well, because Adam is Atum, which is another for the sun, but also Eve's real name is Hawa in Hebrew, HWH. But she was given the name Eve because the people who made up the religion was homosexuals primarily, and hated women.
Right.
So they made the allegory and they changed the name to say that women are naive.
Mm. Mm.
So she went over there being naive, right?
Right.
And what to me that is symbolic of is the fact that so many of us could be good people, right? But we end up bringing about our own demise a lot of times because we naive,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Right.
in um when she went over there, right, they showed her gold. That's how they got our ancestors.
Right.
They brought gold and mirrors to both
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
indigenous people of Africa and liquor. Let's not
Right.
forget that. They bought alcohol, gold, and mirrors
Mm-hmm.
to the indigenous people of the Americas and the people in Africa.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So it's almost like she was blinded by their own currency because it's like they had their own currency.
correct. But if you paid attention,
Right.
when Annie, right, the sister
Mm-hmm.
who was doing what people call hoodoo or voodoo or whatever they call it, when she was doing the work, they gave her a currency too.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they was letting you know that this was the indigenous people of the Americas as well, because the indigenous people had their own money system.
Wow. Right.
They used to use um, shells, and they would string shells, and that's how you could tell their wealth. They would barter, and they would use the shells as like a bartering system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they call it in some tribes. They call it a wampum.
Right.
WAMPUM. Right.
Wow,
Um,
that's funny that's you saying that because in the tribes, when you go to the casinos up in Connecticut, it's called a wampum card. There you go. Wow. Okay. I just realized that. Yeah.
can't make it up, bro.
Can't make you you can't. So let's get into real quick, let's get into Annie because Annie's character to me was very interesting. And I was gonna ask you that before you got into the voodoo. You know what's funny? I seen a post today and it was from a sister and she was a Christian and she was like, don't go see the movie. There's a lot of witchcraft going on in the movie. We shouldn't subject ourselves to that. People, I don't have that same take on it because to me, from some of the research I've done, voodoo is some of the oldest religion, and voodoo just doesn't deal with witchcraft. It's about medicine. It's about cures. It's about ancient things that we use for cures
But
and stuff. And it's funny.
that's why we shouldn't call it voodoo.
Right. And if you look at, I mean, she said that, but what she used it for in the movie was protection, cures, protection. This will help you. This
Right.
ingest, and I like her explanation at the beginning of the movie, uh, to to basically our rituals and how we portray ourselves as like you had the griot, you had the fire and all that. She talked about that, but I thought it was a very interesting play because, as you say, when we came over to this country as an indigenous people and the people that were already here, we had these these in place. You look at Louisiana, you look at um, Mississippi, they had those cures, those natural cures and remedies in place. So I thought that was very important. And she was the first one that picked out and said they're vampires,
Correct.
they're evil spirits.
Right.
So what's any other takes? I know you got a deeper access on Annie, and then at the end, like you said, when she played, I was it Isis?
I said, yeah.
Aset. Yeah, when she played Aset, and they had Baby Horace in there and Baby Rue and all of that. I thought that was shining too. And another key point in there is when she told him, if anything ever happened to me, you need to kill me because I want to go over to the other side. I need to get to my baby. So that right there is, those are traditions of being with the ancestors, even though it might be a baby that passed. I thought those were very, very critical points also in the movie.
Absolutely. It, for one, it shows what most men, and this even goes into the part about Annie. Most men don't understand that they woman is their spiritual protector.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel sorry for men that want to be with a woman that's in the world. You dig what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you want to be with a woman that's in the world, that's caught up in these 3 degrees or these 3 realms. A lot of times you're gonna be lost in the sauce, because as the men, we supposed to be the physical protection.
Right.
Our woman is supposed to be our spiritual protector.
Correct.
Right. So any man, if bad shit keep happening to you, you need to question the woman that you in with. That's just, like the most basic way I could say it is that um, any man, if you consciously aware, you know, you need to be with a woman that understands her role and her job is to protect you spiritually. You know what I mean? So when you hear like a lot of the women now that are saying stuff like, what's your phone?
Huh?
What's your phone?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who called. They know I said everybody I was doing a live stream. I'm not trying to get it though.
Yeah. So when you hear women now, right? You hear women on some of this content, like saying, "I don't let my man leave with his nuts full," right? It may
Right.
seem like perverted or whatever, but that's some real shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if he going out into the world and he leaving the nest and he got like built up tension and everything else, ain't no telling what could happen. I done seen guys. I was telling a story about somebody I know that got killed and got robbed, and he was supposed to be going to handle his business, and he got sidetracked and ended up at a gas station.
Wow.
And ended up at a gas station and picked up a hooker, and the hooker led him to a trap, and guys
Mm-hmm.
robbed and killed him, right? So with the part with Annie, it was important to understand that even when you understand her name Annie, right? When you go into the Sumerian teachings, the word An means the heavenly one.
Mm-hmm.
So Annie would also be a play on Anu, which is the feminine derivative of An, which means the heavenly one. And that's why everybody that's indigenous to the planet, they have An at the end of their name.
Right.
African, European, Indian, because of Anu, the Most High in Sumeria.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That does make sense. That was my coworker calling me. I'll talk about that later. Let's break down. We got a couple more to break down real quick. My favorite character, my old boy Sammy. Sammy. Now I told you we had said this before, and you said that was part of it, but it was more to it than that. I thought you said something very interesting, and I'll let you say it again. I'll break on it. And when you said that, I was like, damn, Dwayne is right about that, or the real young brother is right. I thought Sammy was the hero in this whole movie. But then when you broke down when he went against the father with temptation, I was like, well, maybe he was disobedient. And two, that caused a lot of this strife because even in the open dialogue, when Annie is talking, she's talking about that even the music could be your nightmare too. It could be your worst nightmare. And then I thought about that, and I was like, well, he could be the hero. And then when I really seen the ending of it, I was like, well, I'm going back to the hero part of it because he's still doing his move. He's living out his dream. He's still with his music. He's not going to turn. And then what was so profound in that is when Smoke said, I haven't seen my brother since the sun, which could have been a span of like 40 years. So I to put those together, man, you opened my eye up to the temptation of the father part if he didn't go into that, and I thought that was profound too. But I still say he was one of the heroes in that movie to me. So.
He definitely wasn't a hero. He was a neophyte, and he was
right.
a fool. When you had a tarot deck, you had a fool, right? And he was the initiate. So when you look at Big Cuz, who was telling him, I done been around these positions. They ain't what you think they is. You looking up to them. Like that's just like somebody like me. And I got little homies, and I got all kind of people that I love and I care about that want to be in the music industry so bad, right? And if I was with them shenanigans, bro, I could have wrote my own ticket because I was a writer. I could do a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I just ain't with nothing. I ain't going. You feel me? And with the boy Sammy, see, he one of them ones that'll get in the industry and he'll be around Puff. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody like that, and he's gonna be doing this in his so he definitely represented the fool, and I'm telling you as somebody who done been in them circles and done seen people get turned out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I done seen it happen.
Right.
And I done seen how somebody who you meet them and then they get in, and the next time you see them, they can't even look you in the eyes because they so ashamed of some of the stuff that they done did.
Yeah, and you know what? That's funny that you say that because I think it was Stax. It could have been Smoke at this point when he asked how Chicago was. Because he had, he was like, look, I want to go to Chicago. How's Chicago? And the reference was, well, Chicago ain't nothing but Mississippi with big buildings. I came back home. I'd rather deal with the devil I know. So I the food part of it, I see that now from that reference too. When you said that, I see that reference because all he really wanted to do was play music. He didn't want to play secular music or anything. He just wanted to play music. He didn't care. And it goes to the point of Remick. They really wanted Sammy. Because so now you're saying the fool part, now it makes sense. They really wanted Sammy because they knew they could convert Sammy, and Sammy was the fool. Okay. All right. I'm starting to get it, the real young bro.
Okay, why you think in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. You ain't never heard certain stories about Puff trying certain artists. Like you ain't never heard none of the stories about somebody trying somebody like Soulja Slim. Right. You ain't never heard a story of somebody trying somebody like Beanie Siegel.
Right.
You ain't never heard a story of somebody trying somebody like Nate Dogg. You just don't hear it because these guys is real gangsters.
Right.
If you played with them like that, they was gonna splat your shit right there in that studio.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
the devil understands, the vampire understands, you know, who blood they can suck and who they can't.
Right.
You know? So you know, that's important to know. We can't forget the part about Remick when he first went to the white couple house and he saw
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
He saw the clan robe in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And he sucked their blood. He knew that that was that girl daddy and that they was gonna come kill him the next day.
Right.
Right? Because they was telling us that the memories is in our blood or in our DNA.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this speaks further into now the scene when you go back and Sammy and Zeke and everybody have a cultural experience with what's in their DNA. Because if you remember, it was two Asian people in there, and they showed the Asian woman with the geisha outfit on as well.
Right. Right. That you're right. Right.
Right. So they was showing that the music actually helps us tap into our DNA. That's why we call it mood music.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It actually alters our vibration. So like before we go, I gotta put this on point because I almost forgot. Can you see that?
Yep. Use.
In Greek and Roman mythology, each of 9 goddesses, the daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne, who preside over the arts and sciences. A person or a personified force who is the source of inspiration for a creative artist. So now, why is it that when we go to art, where do we go to see art? A museum.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I want to add something too. Back to. Okay, go ahead.
So, and this why they took our language, because now they making your muse sick.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh.
Now it's used as a psychological weapon. You understand?
Right.
So literally programming our young people to kill.
Kill, use drugs, get high, all that social engineering. You're right. Yeah. Wow.
They took us out of the frequencies of the heart chakra music that we grew up on and took us to the root chakra. And that's what the vampire really is.
Right. Right.
The vampire really is the person that dwells in their root chakra. Right? And
right.
Everything about them is of a carnal nature, and all they could think about is, you know, even like the people who the record execs, because that's what Remick was a record exec.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He was Jerry Heller.
Right.
He was Clyde
Davis.
He was Leor Cohen. You get where I'm going?
Yeah.
So he could have very easily got out on Sammy as soon as he got Sammy and bit him, and he was playing with Sammy because he wanted Sammy to agree
Right.
on what they was gonna do, because Sammy was the gift. See, Sammy was Lauryn Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy was Andre 3000. See, you got people who talented, right? But then you got people who are the gift.
Right.
Lauryn Hill is a gift to the world.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Michael Jackson was a gift to the world.
Right.
This how brilliant they was. You feel me? So that's what Sammy embodied. He wasn't just talented; he was the gift. It was other people that was talented. You see what I'm saying? He was
Right. He was the gift. Yeah.
You know, that's important for people to realize and understand, because what the devil always tries to do is use the gift against us.
Right.
You hear me?
Yeah. And we see it right in our face. We know, I mean, it's to the point where you know who is the gift. You know who's been put in front of us.
Correct.
You see it.
Correct. Well, now it's all of them.
Right.
Like it's all of them now. It ain't. When you look at like the people that get put up in the industry, I damn near could pinpoint to you why they became a necessity to be put in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So like I tell people all the time, I know everybody love Kendrick Lamar. Ooh, Kendrick, that shit corny. That nigga basic as hell. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. Like me and my homie don't even really have conversations about him, because like as far as what they try to make him be versus what he is, that nigga is average as fuck. It ain't nothing special about his music. And Kanye even said it recently, and Kanye is the same way. It's funny as hell to me because Kanye a Gemini, Kendrick a Gemini, but Kanye said why they put Kendrick Lamar, who really don't got no hits, on the halftime show.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They really did. Jay-Z really did that to disrespect Lil Wayne.
Right.
That's what type
because it was in his hometown. Yeah.
That's what type of nigga Jay-Z is, right? So Jay-Z the type of he gonna hold a grudge to the other side of the universe. Yeah, but he became a necessity when Lupe Fiasco started exposing the music industry and doing everything that he was doing.
Right.
See, they had to put somebody else in that kind of mainstream conscious space. You see what I'm saying? So that happens a lot. I'll give you another example. The Black Eyed Peas was the replacement for the Fugees. You want another one?
I mean, I see the Black Eyed Peas, but that wasn't a replacement. That was a dummy down. But I know that's what you're talking about.
No,
Listen up.
I'm saying what you gotta realize is that we're not talking about these people's talent.
Right.
No, we're not talking about that. We talking about the fact that we gotta create something that could occupy this energy. So that's how they tried to replace the Fugees. There's no replacement for certain shit.
Right.
That's not what we talking about. We talking about the energy that they try to put forth. Because what does music do? They will play a song on the radio, especially when we grew up, when we didn't have YouTube music and all this shit. They'll play a song on the radio 12 times until you like it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I could tell you a whole bunch of songs that when I first heard, I thought was trash, but because every time I got in my car and the radio was on, I heard it, I kind of started digging the song a little bit.
Or singing it and still don't. You know, it's funny you say that. Last night there was a song that came on, that chopper style, whatever song, and I hate that song. And Jillian was like, "Well, why are you singing?" It's like every time you turn on the video, that shit is on. So you're right about it. It's just that's all you hear.
Yep. Correct. Yeah. But with another one. This was another one. I could keep going about a lot of them, but another one was Destiny's Child was the replacement for TLC.
So TLC, Destiny's Child replaced TLC.
Watch this. Boys II Men, Jodeci, Mint Condition. Remember that era where we had all them groups, Silk, all that?
Right.
Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, NSYNC. New Edition, New Kids on the Block.
Right. Well, they've been doing that. Yeah.
Wait, watch this. This is why I be wanting to punch people in their face sometimes when people be trying to convince me that Eminem is the greatest rapper. But if you remember the movie, when they came to the door and they was, I pick poor rabbit clean. I pick poor rabbit clean. Buddy, who we talking about? I can't remember the twins' name, but the one who be pushing the line, he was looking like. The rest, a few of them, Annie was like this, looking like y'all don't get your ass the hell up out of here. But it was some of them are doing this. I don't like that.
Right.
And the most important thing about the film is that they showed you that you gotta let the devil come in.
Right. The invite. And it's funny, they ask permission and you invite them in. If you don't invite them in, that was definitely deep.
Look at this. Don't say nothing about Chris Brown. I'm gonna say something about Chris Brown. Chris Brown was supposed to be the next Michael Jackson. Jay-Z put Rihanna on that boy. And they messed Buddy's career up. Turned him out. Used him up. Got him. He, ended up being on drugs. He looked like he coming out of it. And little story about Buddy. I was finna beat him up back in the day when he was a young boy. It was just he was a little bit too young. But
who's that? Chris Brown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But somebody stopped me. At that point, I was real deep in the streets, and everybody was like, "Come on, bro, he only like 16. Give him, leave little buddy alone." You know what I'm saying? So I left him alone. But
and he's from Atlanta?
Huh?
He's from Atlanta, 18?
From Virginia. He was in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah. See, one thing about the when it comes to the music, everybody gonna come through Atlanta.
Right.
Everybody gonna come through Atlanta. Anybody who you name in the industry, I damn that I met them in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? but yeah, I don't know who that was saying, please don't say something about Chris Brown. Okay, yeah. All the horror stories, that's kind of correct, yeah. Um, but but Chris Brown was supposed to be Jay-Z, I mean the next Michael Jackson. And Jay-Z messed his path up. Just like Jay-Z ruined T-Pain career. T-Pain was getting ready to take over the industry. You know it wasn't no death for auto-tune because I listen to Lil Durk records and a lot of these guys that's still out right now and they using auto-tune. So it wasn't a death to auto-tune, it was an attack on T-Pain and his brand, and it was an industry extortion to tell all the rappers and everything else, if y'all fuck with T-Pain, y'all gonna have an enemy with me. And I'm saying who the devil done put in place to run these labels and to call all these shots. I'm the head slave. You hear me?
Right.
Yeah. So Chris Brown was really supposed to be that guy. And it said I started crying when I seen it this past Christmas. I was with the fam and we was watching YouTube and we was playing Christmas songs and we watched that this Christmas video that he had, and he was in all white and he was just pure. He looked angelic. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I really be feeling bad about some of these young talents because they don't have nobody that's spiritually aware to protect them, and everybody gets so focused on getting money.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. And bro say he tried to take Nas out. Really, like Jay-Z, you know, them folk put Jay-Z in position to be the boule for the industry. Him and Puff, the gatekeepers for the industry. See, I would say something, but I ain't gonna say something right now. But the reason all of this stuff coming out is because they already got their chosen ones to replace
them. Yeah.
Jay and Puff.
Right. They use them up, and then when they're done with them, they'll move them out the way.
Right. And that's why they killed Nip. That's why they killed Neighborhood Nip, because Neighborhood Nip really was from that element and really cared about his people and his environment. And he wasn't gonna be somebody that you were just gonna come in and handle any kind of way.
Right.
You know, had too much intelligence, had too much going for himself. You know what I'm saying? And he would have been too much of a problem once those two is out the way, as far as them people being able to control shit.
Right.
So, Malcolm X said the biggest problem for white America is when the gangster becomes political. You know.
Right. All right, before we get out of here, I wanted one more reference into the film. I like the indigenous reference. When they warned us at the beginning who Remick was, because it was that back in the Aquarius, the indigenous were in the age of knowing. They knew, they warned him, they told him who he was.
Yeah.
Don't let this man in your house.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then I didn't understand that. Not when I seen it the second time, I didn't understand why they took off, but they took off because the sun was going down.
Yeah.
You know, when the sun was up, he was burning and he came in there, they was torturing him. But I like that indigenous reference. You know, kind of seems like what's going on, what can happen now is, look, man, get off our land, hey, we've been kicking you out for decades and centuries and centuries and centuries.
Yeah.
We don't want this evil spirit in here.
Right.
Right.
Right. So we could go into a little bit the business a little bit. Let's do this.
I swear next week my leg will be better, man. I'll be in one spot, boy. I'm fighting it. But it's good though. Good show.
I just want to do this real quick then.
Okay.
Because this is my tribe. The Yamasi people, right?
Right.
Let me do the solo screen like bro said. Yamasi War, also spelled Yamasi or Yamasee, was a conflict fought in South Carolina from 1715 to 1717 between British settlers from the province of Carolina and the Yamasi, who were supported by a number of allied Native Americans. The Muskogee, the Cherokee, Catawba, Appalachiola, Yuchi, Savannah River, Shawnee, Congaree, Wassaw, Petey, Cape Fear, and Chihuahua. Now, if you understand who all of those tribes was, those tribes are the tribes that go from North Carolina, because Cape Fear and the Petey is in North Carolina.
Right.
The Cherokee, the real deal with Cherokee though is that you have to make the distinction, because you have the Soggy Cherokee and Cherokee versus Cherokee. When sometimes when it just say Cherokee, that was the tribe that mixed in with Europeans that sold us out.
Right.
Right. But now when we get into the names that even go back farther than your mass, right? We get into, let me see. Put this up. And I'm gonna show how all of this is connected, but they try to keep us from knowing this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Gwali, okay? The Gwali Indians. Gwali were a Native American people inhabiting the coastal regions of what is now Georgia, from the Altamaha River to Ogeechee River. Here we go. They were a Mississippian culture group who interacted with Spanish missionaries and colonists in the late 16th century, which is the 1500s. If it say 16th century, that means it was in the 1500s.
Right.
The Gwali were known for their resistance to Spanish missionizations, including the Gwali Uprising of 1597. All right. So you see what it says here, believed to be a Mississippian culture. Now, this is why it's important. Because these tribes, okay, you see it says Muskogee previously referred to by its exonym Creek.
Right.
The Yamasee were a part of the Creek Nation. The Gwali were a part of the Creek Nation, and they all spoke the Muskogean language. The Muskogee Creek and Seminole people. Okay. Now, the Seminole people only became known as Seminoles because Seminoles means runaway. So here it is. Historically, the language was spoken by various constituents of the Muskogee, Muskogee in what are now Alabama and Georgia. You hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
So Seminoles means runaways. You hear me?
Yeah.
So these people that ended up in Florida was only in Florida because they were running away from the people that was trying to massacre them.
Okay.
In the Yamasee War, and then I forget let me look it up real quick. I forget the name of the war in Alabama, but I'll find it real quick. There it is. The Muskogee War. So see, this took place in 1812.
Right.
But now they was all Creeks. But this is where it becomes important. Watch this. The Gullah Geechee people are descendants of enslaved Africans, primarily from West and Central Africa. So see, this is the narrative that they try to put on the people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But
right.
you just add an O to Geechee and you get the Ogeechee Indians. Ogeechee Indians is not a recognized term for a specific Native American tribe. The name Ogeechee refers to this possible term is being used broader, right? But look where it goes. Hence refers to various Native American groups who lived in the Ogeechee River Basin, specifically the Yuchi and other Muskogean-speaking tribes, the Creek and the Gwali inhabited areas near the river. So see how they tell you without telling you?
Right.
Now, why is that important? That Geechee term is a term that they use in Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. And Florida too. I'm sorry. They call the culture Geechee. People who old enough to know the history. So now one of the places where the Gullah Geechee people are is Sapelo Island, right?
And that's in Georgia?
Huh? Yes.
Sapelo Island's in Georgia?
Yes. And look.
Okay.
Look, Sapelo Shell Rings, known as the Sapelo Island Shell Ring Complex. This site consists of 3 donut-shaped Indian mounds.
2170 BC.
Come on now.
Uh-oh.
Now. But I'm gonna stop there because it's getting late.
Okay.
It was important to me that we did this because, and me knowing that these was the same people that was in the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas. The Yuchi were the people who were sent on the Trail of Tears to Oklahoma.
Right.
That eventually became the people that were in Black Wall Street. That knew how to make the money flip 119 times. That's why 9/11 is 119 backwards. And I can go on and on and on. You're absolutely right. They made a movie called Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Pamela says she your Massey also. Okay. They tell you I'm a Geechee and state they try what people elders you have from the South that you never heard these things from. Absolutely. That's why all the people, all the grannies in the South tell you, baby, we Indians, baby. You know, your great grandmama was a such and such Indian. All they could do, all our ancestors could do is keep the oral tradition because they knew what they had to do with the $5 Indians and how they removed us. You dig what I'm saying? From the Dawes Rolls and everything else, and start labeling us Negro and all these other terms, right? And if you stated at a certain time that you was a such and such Indian else, they would have killed you in the South.
Right. Right.
You know. Yeah. But I mean, we'll be talking to this to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, save it. Save it. Then can't give it to them all.
Yeah, but so we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back next week. We'll definitely be back next week. We'll pick up the topic with
up, my boy.
Huh?
You gonna have the leg propped up.
Man, listen, I've been moving this thing back as it's swollen. I can't even put pressure on it, right? I can't walk on it, nothing. Man, I've been in pain for the whole thing, but listen, man, it's a little pain won't hurt, man, for the information that was provided tonight. I'm good. I talked to you earlier. You knew what I was going through, but listen, man, I wouldn't miss it for nothing, man. Next week, telling the listeners out there and the viewers out there, I'll be propped up in the chair, no movement. But I don't even know if I'm getting to sleep tonight. That's how that bad this thing is. But I gotta smile and laugh. That's all. Gotta smile and laugh. The real young brother took them glasses off, so I know he ready to go to sleep. Oh, he put them back on. What, he's looking at something else?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at this message.
All right. So listen, man, we here with the return.
I got the Camino clothing in new colors too. So
all right, I need to get that. We need to get some Yamansi clothing too.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get it to go.
I got the Olmec. I'll wear the Olmec next week.
All right, good. All right, good. Listen, man, I mean, if y'all want to purchase gear, support us.
For sure.
We got our own store. We can create our own store. We're gonna put it up. Y'all can buy the gear, support it.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And we ain't trying to rob y'all and make money off it and whatnot. We're just getting you to run some authentic gear. You authentic when you're wearing authentic gear.
Facts.
All right, cool. All right, so that's gonna do it, man. It's the return of the Alchemy Hour, and we'll be back with y'all next week.
For sure.
All right.
All
Peace.
right.